Hi, I'm Barbara Chris.
And I'm Clarissa,
We're two friends, entrepreneurs, and experts in our field.
joining forces and talking all about life, business, tools for success, and more.
So, without further ado, here's to Dope Women. Hello and welcome to this episode of Here's to Dope Women. I'm Barbara Chris, your co-host. I'm a certified nutritionist and weight loss coach, and I'm joined here with my beautiful co-host Clarissa, who is a hairstylist and salon owner. And today we've got a great episode for you. We are going to talk about mindset, a little bit about what the heck it is, how to improve yours, and some tips and tricks to really you can try today to help improve your mindset. So joining us to get onto this topic or really get into this topic is our guest, Ms. Niki Pollastrini. And she is a certified esthetician. She is the owner of Namaste Skincare and Wellness, as well as a certified meditation guide. And so on behalf of all of us, Niki, welcome. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I know. So mindset. This is obviously, I think, a very popular topic, especially towards the beginning of the year. And, you know, as a weight loss and nutrition coach, I deal a lot with mindset. When you think of that word, Niki, what comes to mind? What's mindset to you?
I think it's so easy to equate mindset to positive thinking. So I think a lot of people, when they think mindset, they think like, oh, if you have a positive mindset, you're going to have, like a positive outcome in your day or positive whatever. Mindset is actually, to me, the way that you assess your situation in life and then how you deal with it. So you can have a negative mindset, you can have a positive mindset, you can have you could come into a situation exhausted, and that changes the way that you view the situation as a whole. So mindset is really not only the way you perceive things, but the way you intentionally process them.
Oh, that's a really good explanation, because I definitely think that, when people think of mindset, they're just always thinking of positivity, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that also too, me and Barbara, we've talked about this before about how we're like, damn, Niki, she has to have like the best mindset, because this girl is like on the go constantly. Like, we've talked about how inspiring it is to just see you and see everything that you're doing. You just came out with your own skincare line. There's now a med spa that's carrying your skincare line. And it just seems like you're always just on the go. And it's inspiring because you're a mom, you're a wife, you have a spa. And so it's just like, I'm like, okay, we have to have her on our podcast because you're always so inspiring to us.
Oh, you guys are sweet. You're sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if I'm being honest with you, my mindset is not great all the time. That's why I actually have to like actively work on it. And that's actually why I got certified to do meditation guiding, is because I'm a horrible meditator. And I have to really work at mindset because I get overwhelmed super easily. So thank you. I think that's awesome that you guys are inspired. I think on the day-to-day, I just take things as they come, and then I do get overwhelmed though. So I do have to constantly work on mindset. Yeah.
So maybe walk us through a little bit about what you do when you personally meditate. Do you usually do it? Do you do it every day? Do you do it in the morning or at night, or kind of, do you do like, I know there's guided meditations on apps and things like that. I mean, what do you usually like to do, or what do you usually like to recommend for people?
So meditation can be so many different things. And I think the idea of meditating is that you're like sitting down and you're getting zen and you're totally clearing your mind. That will never happen for me ever in a million years. That's not the way I meditate. It's really hard to meditate that way. So there's different ways to do it. And I'll tell you that I don't have a set practice where I'm up before my kids meditating. I don't do that. And so if I get a chance to do it, great. If I'm having a hard time sleeping at night, absolutely, I will meditate because it's so good just to calm your mind. But I do have to carve out time and be intentional about when I'm going to meditate, just like working out. Like I have to say, okay, today I'm going to carve out like 20 minutes to just like meditate. Or if I have time in between clients, that's usually when I do it here. Meditating can be as simple as waking up in the morning and like right as you open your eyes, you can feel your heartbeat and you just take a few breaths. You start with your nose, you fill up your stomach, and then you let it all out and you just say a prayer or a thought of gratitude. And that can start your day in a good meditative state. After I work out, when I'm doing my stretching, I like to meditate. I meditate before a yoga class. Usually I get there a few minutes early and it kind of sets my mind up for my practice. But there are days that like I don't meditate. I just went on vacation for a weekend. I did not meditate, not one time. But I do think that it becomes a part of you when you start to get overwhelmed to be like, okay, I just need to like stop and breathe for a few minutes and really just like assess what I need to adjust in this moment. And that has been the most helpful one. I do love guided meditations, especially if I'm going for like a longer meditation period. A guided meditation is very helpful because the imagery is great and it keeps you kind of on track. So you really have to focus on whatever, the guiding imagery is. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. I really love, Niki, how you shared the fact that you're not always in a very like a positive mindset. You're not always, at 100%. And I think that, of course, Clarissa and I can relate to that. And I'm sure all of our listeners can relate to the fact that it's hard to, feel like you can stay positive or, in the game 100% all the time. And, in my profession as a coach, obviously you can guess that a lot of the people that I work with, they've dealt with, struggling with whether it's their weight or with diets or feeling like, that they've had this past experience that maybe wasn't the most positive, had maybe even a very negative experience. And so that their mindset is shaped by that. They think that, oh, that means that in order for me to get healthy or to get healthier, I have to completely change who I am. And I don't know if I can do that. Maybe this is just who I am. What kind of advice would you give to someone who feels like they just can't like get out of that stuck mindset?
Well, I think for starters, I think we have way too much input from all kinds of sources telling us you should try it this way. You should do it this way. This way is wrong. This way is right. And so, I think you have to be really realistic with where you are individually. So, as far as diet and exercise goes, I mean, if you want to think mindset, it's not realistic for me, somebody who eats everything, to decide one day I'm going to go completely vegan. Yes, I would love to. My intention is there. I do try to do more plant-based if I can, but to do the all or nothing thinking is so self-sabotaging, especially when it comes to mindset. All or nothing thinking, I think, is for me and for a lot of people that I speak with, is like the number one reason that your mindset is messed up, is because you put all your eggs in a basket. And if it doesn't work out or you have a day, yesterday I was kind of in a funk. I was in a rut yesterday and I started to feel that all or nothing, mindset, thinking pattern, whatever, come up, and it just kind of got me down yesterday. So, I think I think that's a big one. You got to really sit down and assess. Like, self-awareness is the biggest thing for really creating a healthy mindset. I don't even want to say positive because that can be toxic in so many ways, but a healthy mindset is really just taking a little bit of time to sit down and like assess. Journaling is great, all of that. So I think when you're having, you're kind of, it's snowballing and you're like, oh, it's not working and nothing works and this isn't for me. And I'm just going to, say, forget all of it and whatever. I think you need to sit down and be like, okay, did I give it my best shot? Was I really doing things that were fit with my lifestyle, my desires, my goals, my finances? Was I really giving it a realistic kind of go at whatever your goal is?
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think also too, having some self-compassion I think
Yes.
that's something that I've been working on a lot myself, because I'm like my own worst critic, and there's times where I have my off days and I just need to be like, you know what, Clarissa, like, you're okay. Like, just do your best. And that's all you can do for today. And tomorrow's another day, but I think just people just get way too down on themselves, and it just totally messes up their mindset. And I think it's very self-sabotaging. And so I think just having a little bit of like a better kind of like you said, just like, kind of like moment of reality with yourself, and just kind of assessing where you are and just being like, okay, like I'm in a bad mindset right now, but let's see what we can do to kind of turn this around, and just having that self-compassion and that self-love to be able to turn that around. Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's
Amen to that.
Go ahead.
No, I just said amen to that.
Yeah.
Just being kind to ourselves, or reminding ourselves that, we don't need to be perfect to still make progress, to still get, do what we need to do. Perfection isn't part of that. But I think that also you made a good point, Niki, about there's so much noise, there's so much input. And I think along those lines, what makes, social media is a great tool, but I know there's also it's like a double-edged sword. I think that a lot of times people struggle with comparison as well. In fact, Clarissa, didn't you went through like some quotes that were really meaningful to you, and you had this quote about comparison. And I think that the comparison can also feed into our mindset, or maybe impact our mindset when we don't realize it. Do you remember off the top of your head? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it was a really good quote about comparison being like basically one of the biggest
Stealer
things.
of joy.
Yeah.
Joy or whatever. Yeah.
It's one of like the cancers of the mind. I don't remember. I think it was like one of the cancers of the mind is comparison.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's a killer of joy, for sure, because everybody's in their own stages,
For sure.
Social media is the worst.
The worst.
It is.
Yeah, it's interesting too, is you're talking about like mindset and being kind to yourself. And then I know earlier on, Niki, you even mentioned how it's kind of like it's a muscle, and you have to practice it, make daily or as much as possible to kind of work on your mindset, especially if, let's say, you're trying to shift it. One of the things that I like to do too, even with my own mindset or the mindset of my clients, is, I'll tell them that there are things that maybe it's a morning routine that you have, or something that makes you feel good. So if you're in a rut, you can turn to these very simple, actionable items. Like if you get up in the morning and you make your bed, and maybe you do some kind of self like manifestation or positive quotes for yourself, or the high five, things like that, to kind of shift your mind into a more, I don't know, not necessarily positive, but a productive, maybe, state of mind. Do you find that you have habits or things that you do day in and day out, or maybe it's meditation, that kind of help with your mindset?
I mean, a big one for me is exercise. That's a big one for me. And I have way better days if I wake up and exercise and start my day that way. It's the good chemicals that get released, I think, in the body. It's like that I made a conscious effort to do something for myself, because I do give all day long to my kids, my husband, my clients, everybody. So I feel like that is my own personal time. I do also spend time alone every day, because I am an introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert. Is that what they call it? When you can hang out with people, but it exhausts you over time. So I have to make sure that there's some part of my day that I'm alone. So I drive without any sound on a lot of the time, just so that I can be alone with my thoughts.
Me too. I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
It's like my only quiet time. Sometimes my husband has like an hour commute there and back most days. And I'm always so jealous of him, because he can just have nothing on. He can listen to a podcast. He can do whatever. So, I think that's like it's amazing. But I mean, too, I think in my own work of just self-development, and I do a lot in the world of like spirituality and stuff, I do try to live how we say, like, ceremonially, where you kind of try to put your best intention into everything. And even when I'm making coffee, I'll like sit down and I'll do some breathing while I'm making my coffee, just try to make everything a little bit more ceremonial, I guess is what you can say. You know, I do like there's cacao ceremonies. There's like all kinds of daily ceremonies that you can do to help. And it's really based. There's people who wake up and they pray and they read, you know, whatever book they want to read, or, you know, there's like quiet times that you can have in the morning. I think any of those are great. Whatever intention you put into whatever it is you're doing, that's what you're going to get out of it. So, you know, if I say, okay, I'm going to take a couple minutes before the kids wake up to just like breathe while I'm making my coffee, you know, that helps me a lot. But yes, I think exercise is my biggest one. Having a little bit of alone time a day, if not most of my day, if I have a day off, that's like my most recharging thing. And meditating when I can. I do neurofeedback, which like is a whole separate thing, but that is really helpful for me just because, you know, it helps me reset my mind. But there's a bunch of little different things that people can do. Sometimes just doing, you know, your makeup routine can be really, if you're a creative person and you're artistic and you like to do that, that can be really fun and help you with your mindset for the day. You know, you got up, you got ready, you put yourself together, and now you're going to go out into the world. That can be really helpful for people.
So just basically being a little bit more present in the moment.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot.
Thank you for summing that up way faster.
Right?
Yeah.
You know,
I like to sum things up.
Yeah, I like it. Perfect.
But no, that's so helpful.
and you talked about, Niki, that you try to find some kind of alone time for yourself every day, whether it's in your car or, you know, having your coffee. What does that do for you as far as you know, when you find that alone time, are you able to just kind of find that wherever you are during your day, or is it more that you have a practice of, I'm going to do this in the morning? Because I would imagine let's say if someone's new to this, whether it's new to, I don't know, not necessarily meditation, but trying to, you know, change their mindset. Is it better to have an established time or like a goal to kind of do that, to set yourself, or just the flexibility to kind of find that throughout your day? I don't know. Does that make sense? That question?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person and the schedule, but I actually think that the most important thing when you're starting anything is to have a goal and a schedule, just so you can get into the habit of it, you know, because then it becomes part of your life, you know?
Right.
Because everything's kind of if things are too hard to like quickly just carve into your day or do on a whim, then we don't do it. And so I think it's really good. It's like working out. I mean, I keep coming back to exercise, and I think that's only because if I don't make the time for it, it doesn't happen. And I always joke that like, if it doesn't happen right when I wake up before my brain knows what's happening, then it won't happen. So I feel like that's like, you really do have to, in the beginning, if it's new to you, if it's totally new and you've never done it before and it's something you really want to do, yes, you do have to carve out time and set a goal, I think, or else you're just setting yourself up for even more of a challenge. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't do it. Okay, I'm going to start tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I didn't do it. Okay, I guess I'm going to start tomorrow. And then months go by and you're like, I still haven't done it.
Yeah, because I feel like if you don't, you know, if you just wake up and you're like, okay, so at some point today, I'm going to carve out some time, 10 minutes, you know, maybe in between clients or maybe, you know, on my lunch break. But I think if you don't actually set like a dedicated time, like in your schedule, it's never going to get done. Because I've tried to do that too. And there's even times where I try and schedule myself like a lunch, even just to eat food during the day. And then I'll go over that time and then I'm just like, and then I don't even end up eating till freaking 7 o'clock at night.
Right.
So I think it's really important to like have that intention to set that time apart for yourself is great throughout the day, especially for people like us, because we all work with people during the day. So I think that having that time to kind of just bring it back to yourself is really important.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that. And do you think, and I know it's not necessarily about, you brought up a good point, you know, early on about that sometimes when you think of the word mindset, there's this assumption that it just means being positive, and that's not the case. But do you think that, for example, let's say someone says, you know, I'm so tired of being unhealthy. Do you think that if they were to word that differently with more of a positive angle, something more like, I'm really looking forward to when I have more energy and I'm, eating in the way that I really want to be eating. That there's power in the way they say or speak to themselves with respect to their mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my first love is like outreach in shelters and treatment centers and stuff. My second love is skincare. And so I've spent many years working in shelters, and my husband and I used to run a homeless like ministry thing back in the day. And so we've done a lot with people who were in really hard situations. And one of the biggest things that I saw, or that I can see when speaking one-on-one with people, is after you've had such a long run with hardships in life, it's so easy to just give up and say, well, I guess this is just my life. I just got dealt a horrible hand and this is just how it's going to be. And you lose that kind of motivation to think positive thoughts. Because I mean, here's the thing is like, if you're like, oh, I really look forward to when, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that's like everyday life. Let's say somebody who's going through like a nasty divorce. That's like a prominent thing, right? So like, for example, let's say somebody's going through a really hard divorce. I mean, it's hard. You can't deny that it's hard. You can say things like, I'm really looking forward to when I'm not so heartbroken over it. But you have to take steps to get unheartbroken. Like, it's not going to work if you're just sitting at home hoping for it. So I think there's like a balance that you have to take, or they have to make, between the power that's in our words, the power that's in our intentions. If you believe in a higher power, or, the universe helping you and all that, like the sovereignty of those things, and human responsibility to like get your ass up and go fix it. You know what I mean? Ooh. So I think there's also, especially in the world of like, health and wellness and whatever, everybody wants to have what they see out there. Everybody wants to be fit. Everybody wants to eat healthy. Everybody wants to make good choices. But it's like, there's a difference between hoping for it and saying, I'm going to eat healthy, and, actually eating healthy and not going to Del Taco on your break. You know what I mean? There's like a human responsibility that we all need to take. So, I do think the mind is powerful. I do think speaking positively to yourself, especially to yourself, if you're having like self-esteem issues, absolutely. Affirmations are amazing. I do affirmations too. I don't know why I forgot about that. I do affirmations every day. I teach my daughters affirmations. I teach my son affirmations, because it really shapes the way you think about yourself. But you also have to do the footwork if you want actual change in your life,
Definitely. And I remember you had talked about how you kind of have to like assess yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you kind of work like with people when it comes to that?
Yeah. I mean, in my, in all the outreach stuff, absolutely. Yeah. I think a big one, especially working in treatment, there's a lot of people who make bad decisions. And you know what, honestly, so much of it, if you want to talk about like the compassion part of it, so much of it is unresolved trauma from childhood. So like when I am working with people in that realm or that world, I really do see them as like hurting children. And so I think when you have a view like that, you can really sit down and listen to them. But also it's easy for me to be like, okay, but let's think about what you could have done differently. What is a different outcome that if you had done something different, what would the outcome be? It's a good way to have people think through the whole situation and be like, okay, if I had, not gone to that person's house on that specific night, I wouldn't have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Had I not been calling that man that I know is bad for me, I wouldn't have been, further traumatized in this way, or whatever it is. And there's zero victim shaming on my end, because horrible things happen to people and it is not their fault. And it's really sad. We live in a really sad world. I don't want to take this into a dark place, but, I think everybody does play a role in, I want to say this correctly without like saying something that's going to be damaging to somebody. Everybody has a role in the outcome of it. And I'm not talking about children. I'm talking about grown adults that can like make decisions for themselves, Mm-hmm. And, a big part of it is really like assessing the narrative of your life. We talked about that a little bit, the three of us. Assessing the narrative of your life is a big one of like, what is the story that I tell about my life? What is the story that I want to tell about my life? And, you know, you can change your story of, oh, I have so much childhood trauma and I was victimized for years and like all this stuff. Yes, that is actually very true. But you can think of it as I am a traumatized victim of a person that did something horrible to me, or I have become victorious and I'm no longer in the hold of that person that did these horrible things to me. So now that I'm my own individual person, how can I move on? Because when we like harp on things from our past too, that's something that keeps us from moving forward. So yes, absolutely. Mindset is huge when it comes to, you know, the way we talk to ourselves, the way that we assess our situations, and taking responsibility for the things we can take responsibility for.
That like, oh, I felt that. That was just so powerful. Wow. And, you know, as you were sharing that, one of the things that came to mind is the power of also who you surround yourself with.
Oh, totally.
I know I can 100% attest to this. And this isn't saying that I was hanging around bad people before, but it really, your circle of who you surround yourself with can help you when you're not able to do the things for yourself that you wish you could. Meaning, like with you ladies, I love the fact that the two of you drive me and motivate me and inspire me. And I know that this circle of, you know, even this small circle right here on right now on this episode for me is just this like this nest of inspiring women. And because I don't always feel motivated and inspired and creative, but when these ladies, these women around me, close to me are, it reminds me of, okay, no, I can do this. And to hear what you're doing or hear what you're doing, you know, Nikki and Clarissa and actually Nikki, to the fact that I get reminded of all these great things that you've done where you've worked with these outreach groups. It's so inspiring to me to continually grow and think outside the box and realize that our potential is really I guess limitless, however we want to define it. And I think for, you know, other people, when maybe if you're feeling like you're in a rut or stuck, that sometimes reaching out and getting some help and surrounding yourself with inspiring, you know, people that might not only just be there to help, but maybe even help you think outside of your, I guess, your normal. I mean, that's something for me has been very helpful in pushing me to do the things that I do. Have you found that too with you? It's because it seems like, you know, when you talk about even how you speak with your kids and, you know, with your family, like where did that come from? Like to start doing those things? I think it's so cool.
Honestly, I think because, and my mother and father are amazing. It's just the way that people were parenting their kids at the time. I just never was taught that kind of stuff. I grew up in more of the religious world, and that's a whole separate set of teachings and values and stuff. And so through my own healing from my own trauma stuff from my past, I've learned tools, but I've also found that I love to learn different things and I love to learn about other people. And I think that has really helped me kind of navigate my way through different kinds of groups. I've been through AA, NA, I've been through Codependence Anonymous, I've been through churches, and I've become a member of all these groups and I've learned what I've needed to learn. And for me personally, I've outgrown those, not saying I'm better, but I've outgrown what I've needed to learn from there. And I've moved on to whatever else. And now I'm in a little bit of a different community now. But also my circle of people that I trust is extremely small. It's small. I could count them on, I'll say my two hands is my circle of people that's small. I don't give access to everybody just because I know that as I'm growing and as I'm developing, I really don't want input from a bunch of other people. I really only want to share things with people who have shown me that they're trustworthy and that they honestly deserve it. And I also feel like I want to be one of those people that is trustworthy and deserves to hear what my friends are going through and what my friends need support with and help with. And so I'm really blessed to have a group of women that I've really kind of sifted through and found my people. But I mean, honestly, it was years of like friendships that didn't turn out, or I don't know. I think when you're always kind of growing, you can't stay stuck. And when you're with people who are stuck, it's energetically a mismatch. And you have no choice but to either leave or let them bring you down. You know, they always say, like, if you're standing on a chair, it's easier for you to push somebody off than it is for you to pull somebody up. So for me, I would prefer not to be around people that can kind of push me down. And it's not to their fault. They're on their own healing journey. But that's something that I've had to become very aware of is who I let into my life and who is allowing me to be in their life, you know?
I think that's really big because I have personal experience in that too, where I've had friendships where it was kind of almost like a one-sided thing. And it's like, I was always happy for them and no matter what they were doing, but then it just didn't really seem like they were happy for me. And I think that's a big thing is just having those positive, you know, friendships, especially with women, you know, women, it can get so, how do I say it? It can get very like competitive almost.
I was gonna say catty.
It can get
Catty. Yeah, very catty. And so I think it's really important to have those types of like positive friendships where we're always kind of building each other up. And that's what I love about you guys is like, we're constantly like, you know, we're not comparing ourselves. We're just like, we're always happy for each other and we're always building each other up. So I think that's really big. Having people to kind of cheer for you, no matter what you're doing. I think grieve
with
big.
you if you need it. You know what I mean? Grieve with you, process with you. Like if you don't trust them to go with you into like the dark stuff that you're going through, then like you probably should not allow them in when things are going great. You know what I mean?
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think there's like long-term, you know, friendships that you've had that maybe you just need to keep those people at like an arm's length away.
Totally.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And I mean, going back to like, you know, the whole idea of surrounding yourself with people, you know, who are the like-minded or, you know, leaders hang out with other leaders. You know what I mean? Like the lion's not hanging out with the hyena. You know, the lion is in a pride of other lions. And so I think it's really important if you want to up level and you want to change your mindset, like be with people who like to do that. You want to know where I found my community? This is like going to be so stupid, but actually it's not stupid. I tell people all the time, it's a great resource. Meetup. I found a group on Meetup and it has become one of my most healing spiritual communities ever. And so if you're in a situation where you're like, well, where do I even meet those people? You know, you're not going to meet them probably at a gym. You're probably not going to meet them, you know, going out and getting drinks with friends at happy hour. You know, it's like, you got to think, especially in today's world, where are you going to meet them? Meetup is a great place. If you're like, I want to meet with other people who are like business owners, then you find a meetup group for business owners. Usually it's free. Go to Facebook groups. I'm in a group for Ventura County businesswomen. It's like an amazing group for business women. And I've met so many women who are just like powerhouse entrepreneurs. And like, if I have a business thing going on, I can bounce it off of them. And those are not my friends, but business wise, I want to be successful like them. They want to be successful also. And so we all kind of work together and empower each other. So that's go to Meetup if you want to find someone. Yeah.
I love that. And I think what you're showing also I think that plays big into mindset, is that willingness to constantly learn. That growth mindset. I think there's like maybe the two really basic types of mindset, whether it's a fixed mindset or the growth mindset. And I think that it takes a lot of courage. It takes you being vulnerable for sure, to continually grow, to admit that maybe you need help and some guidance. I think a lot of times, I think especially if you're really driven and you're really wanting to make your place in this world, it's hard to admit that you need help, maybe some guidance. But I know that, for me and even my clients that I've seen have been extremely successful are the ones that are open to learning. It's
Yeah,
not so much about being right. I think that keeps us in a corner. I think it kind of
totally.
limits what we can do if we just focus on, I just want to be right, as opposed to really understanding the truth. And if you go after the truth and growth and what you're sharing, that is so much more, I think, powerful for sure. But even listening to you share that, how you go to these women and in business, I could see you light up too, how much that you enjoy that for
Mhm.
yourself. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun. I do love it. And I think too, you said growth mindset and fixed mindset. And I think that is huge in staying coachable and teachable and open to learning new things. Because like you said, wanting to be always right limits you. I mean, if I were to think I've made my money, I have all my clients that I want, everything is great, I'm set, something can happen and I can lose that in a day. So you have to really be careful to not always think I've arrived and remain in a state of like, what can I do better? What can
Yes.
I try that's new? Maybe this isn't working. Let's fix that. And this can be with family. Your kids might get to an age where you're like, oh, I've arrived. Everybody's like self-sufficient. They're doing whatever. And then, a kid has a bully at school or one of them has an injury or whatever. You always have to be open to like being flexible and shifting and kind of being able to go with the flow in a lot of ways. And so, a fixed mindset would tell you, I'm never going to be able to do it. And a growth mindset is, I haven't been able to do it yet. And so really having like an open mind to future possibilities, and not, another thing is like not assuming that what's happening right now is permanent. That's another thing. Everything is temporary in this life. Every single thing. I think that's a big thing that COVID taught us, is that even though it feels like COVID is permanent, is that nothing is permanent. Everything in life is temporary. Every stage, every heartache, every pain, every thing of happiness and joy, all of that can be temporary. So you really have to be like preparing yourself with a mindset that can handle those things as they come.
Love it.
I love that. That's amazing.
I know. And so if you were to think about, let's say you had someone just come to you who is brand new to whether it's mindset, meditation, what would be your, I don't know, top tip or piece of advice that you would give someone who's trying to work on their mindset?
My go-to is always a gratitude journal. First thing when you wake up, write down 3 things you're thankful for. Start your day that way. At the end of your day, assess your day, take an inventory of everything that's happened, the way you responded, the way you reacted, write a gratitude journal. And that can be, it's not, I'm so thankful that today everything was perfect, or I'm so thankful that whatever. It's like when you have hard stuff that comes your way, it's like, I'm grateful for this experience because it taught me that I need to learn to stop and think before I talk. Like I'm grateful for, whatever, this argument I had with my sister, because it taught me that we still have unresolved whatever. It's like whatever, really assess it. It's not just I'm thankful that I have money in the bank, I have a roof over my head, and I have clothes on my body. It's like you got to go deeper, and not think of the extrinsic things that are like materialistic, tangible, and really go inward. So you really have to think about, did I say intrinsic? No, yeah. You got to really think about the intrinsic things, the things that motivate you from inside, aside from all that stuff. So I always say gratitude journal, AM and PM, write 3 things down. I always say that to everybody.
I love it. That's a good one.
Yeah. And I think that'll be really helpful for people that have their bad days too.
Yeah.
Just to find one thing that you're grateful for.
Totally. And what's cool is like, if you have your journal in a long term, let's say 6 months down the road, go back and read it again from the beginning, and you can see how far you've come. It's a great way to track your own progress with your mindset.
I love that. I think I heard that on one of Jay Shetty's, I think it was Jay Shetty's podcasts, where he said to take a jar and each day you write down something that you're grateful for, and then you put it in the jar. And then at the end of the year, you open
I love that.
I think that's a really cool thing too.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I love
that is really interesting. I like how you pointed out, it's not so much being grateful for the all the sunshine and rainbows, all the good things that happen, but even digging deep and being grateful for maybe the experiences that are tossed our way or thrown our way, even if they're hard circumstances. I know, dealing with some tough situations, and like for me with a business partnership, and dealing with some, not so pretty situations. What helped me get through that when I was really down and depressed about it was really learning how to look at that for the lesson that was trying to be taught to me, that it was clear that there was something that I needed to learn from that situation. And the more and more I looked in, I would think about it and really see like, okay, this is what I need to learn here. And one of those things was standing up for myself. And that was a real big one. And it's almost like that. I don't want to just say it's just women, but how we want to, or people pleasers in general, we want to make everybody happy around us. And I saw that in that particular example, it wasn't working for me. And it was really hard to learn to stand up for myself in certain situations where, I was just being true to myself. It wasn't that I was I was looking to be, I don't know, what's the word, overbearing.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, that we have to be really mindful and aware of ourselves and what makes us tick and what's important to us. And sometimes it's hard when you have to stand up for yourself, and that's not necessarily what the people around you are aiming for either, right?
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that it's looking at the lessons that are there for us, even in those hard times. That actually helped me to keep going too. When I started realizing, oh, there is something here I can use to kind of propel me forward. That's not just like everything's great, but hey, I can actually learn from this and become better, because I've learned it. So thank you for sharing that. That was actually very helpful.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that is a thing, everything comes into your life, every person, every situation, everything comes in your life as a lesson or a blessing. And if you can assess it, it might take 2 years to realize that a friend of yours was actually a lesson, not a blessing, or a lover of yours was actually a lesson, not a blessing. So, if you look at your relationships, if you can go back in time and think about your relationships, like, was that a blessing or was it a lesson? Or it could be both. Another thing that I do that I don't want to forget is another exercise that I do that helps me with my mindset. And it's going to sound silly, but if you guys try it, it's really actually amazing. Okay. So when you're driving is very frustrating in Southern California, especially when it's if you want to get triggered, take a ride in the rain. Okay, so you know what I like to do besides having it be quiet? That's my time to like decompress, is in my car quietly. So if I'm driving, if I'm like stopped at a red light, I will always like look at the person next to me and I'll say a prayer for them, or I'll send them love, or I'll be like, oh, I hope that person has a great day today. You just think, if I'm driving and somebody like cuts me off, I'm like, you know what? I hope they get to where they need to go, or you say something like that instead of being like, it's really it keeps you in that mode of like stopping the negative talk that comes through your brain out of your mouth, or just stays in your brain, and you basically absorb it all into your system. That is like one of my favorite things to do when I'm driving, especially if I'm with my kids and someone cuts me off. I'm like, we have to just send them love. We have to let, because they're probably having a really hard day. It's hard to have a hard day, or whatever. And I hate it, but sometimes I'll see people crying in their cars or yelling, at their speaker thing in their car. And you just say like, I pray. So, I'll always be like sending love and praying for that person or whatever. And I don't know their situation, but it's a really good way to shift your mindset, especially if you work with other people. It's a great way to kind of, you grow compassion too for just humans as a whole. But it's also a great way to just kind of always to reset your mind while you're driving.
I love that.
I love it
it's
too.
Almost like you're coming from like a place of love, right?
Yeah, always.
I kind of feel like I try and do that when I come into contact with strangers, like whether it's the cashier at the grocery store or the barista. I always try and be kind of like, not like fake nice, right?
Right.
But like overly nice of like, just like, thank you so much. And look at people right in the eye. And
totally.
Because I feel like more times it's like, there's times where I'm like, oh, wow, that person was like really nice to me.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like people are more rude to you than nice.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
So it kind of like, it puts you in a better mood when you come across someone, a complete stranger who's super nice. So it's
Totally.
just I love that coming from a place of love and just sending out love to anybody that you're around, even when they don't know it in the next car.
Yeah. And they might not even like recognize it or whatever, but I know that, you know, in that moment that we've crossed paths, I've done. Yeah.
It's just the energy that you're giving off. I love it.
Yeah.
Like you said, the energy you give off is the energy you're going to receive. And there's 100% truth to that. I know when I put the energy into, wanting to surround myself with people, women who inspire, who are, driven, who are going to push me. Guess what? I started meeting all those women and interacting with them more and more, or people who are, that inspire me as if they're entrepreneur, or not even necessarily just entrepreneurs, but maybe there's just something about them that they have that they can teach me. They show up. There is true power in that. I 100% believe in that, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, if you're just constantly putting the negative energy out there, the negative energy is going to come right back to you.
Totally.
If you keep on thinking like, oh, I just have the worst luck, guess what? You're going to keep noticing all the bad luck. I think it's the reticular activating system in your brain.
Yeah.
Right. It's just if you're constantly seeing, butterflies, guess what? You're going to keep noticing butterflies wherever you go. Totally. So there's like a scientific process in your brain that actually happens that, if you're putting positive energy out there, you're going to keep noticing positive energy wherever you go. Yeah. So I love that.
There is a thing, learning neurofeedback, becoming certified in it, you actually learn, and I'm sorry, I can't quote any like research for this right off the top of my head. However, when you are, we've all seen the rice, experiment where when you talk bad to rice and then you talk good to rice or whatever, or a plant, when you're like saying bad things to a plant, it doesn't grow and all that. So it's the same when we talk to ourselves, and when you are stopping in your thought process, if you're I can be really hard on myself, and I've gotten better at it. But if you realize like you're just getting down on yourself all day, stop and think, I'm going to tell myself something. And it could be like, I love my nose. I love my makeup today. Like whatever, it could be anything, but actually stopping yourself in your tracks and switching the way that you speak to yourself, it actually does affect the neural pathways in your brain. And so when you do that often enough, it's going to open new neural pathways, and then you're going to have all those good chemicals, all of endorphins, serotonin, all those can flee. Did I say that right? No.
Flow freely.
Flow freely because those neural pathways are open. So, I mean, the mind is like an incredible thing. And what you choose to do with your mind really sets your whole entire life.
Yeah. And you've actually, to touch on like the neurotherapy, you've actually introduced me to that. And I think it's something that's super interesting. So is there like a kind of a brief description to tell people about neurotherapy and the benefits of it?
Yeah, neurofeedback is like a workout for your brain. So, if you're in an apartment, let's say, and you want to move furniture, if you're not used to exercising and you're weak and whatever, it's really hard for you to move furniture. You'll get winded, you'll get exhausted, you won't want to do it again. If you're working on your strength and you're working out and you start to build muscle and you're eating properly and your body has what it needs, moving furniture is like no big deal. So whenever you need to move something, you just move it and you go on with your day. So neurofeedback is the same kind of exercise for your brain. And what it does is it opens new neural pathways and it strengthens them so that when you are in a stressful situation, your brain has the strength and the ability to kind of push through the stress without being overcome by the symptoms of stress. It's stress, it's sleep disorder, it's addiction, it's trauma, it's all the toxic stuff that's in our world, our food, our air, all of that affects your brain. So what neurofeedback does is it kind of reads what part of your brain is over functioning, what part of your brain is under functioning as a result from these other things. And it kind of allows it to communicate a little bit more clearly so that when you are in these stressful states or when you're going through like PTSD symptoms, if you're having a trauma response to something, your brain actually, without even you thinking about it, can access those calming states.
Oh, wow. And you do that in your spa, right?
I do that in my spa. I actually was doing more outreach stuff during COVID. I worked in a treatment center and I was doing, my battery. I was doing neurofeedback in the world of drug and alcohol, substance use disorder. And so, and PTSD, it was a trauma center. And so I had taken a break from skincare, just COVID. And I thought, you know what, this is something literally that everybody needs. And so I decided to come back to skincare, open my spa, and then now I offer it with my services. So it's like total self-care because people are coming to get massages and facials to relax anyway. So this actually strengthens their brain and it really activates the mind-body connection while they're here. So.
Oh, I love that.
And it's basically just an audio that you listen to.
Yeah.
And it's so calming. It's almost like a meditative kind of music and sounds and things like that. And I feel very like relaxed.
Oh.
I definitely sleep better at night too after I've done it.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to have to try this out.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I love it.
Yeah. It's also great, that they train Olympians before the Olympics with neurofeedback because it makes their focus and their, it's just great for performance. It helps your focus. It helps your, just the way that your brain, plays a role in the recovery of your exercises and stuff. So it's actually a very performance driven therapy for people who are like professional athletes. You should try it, Barbara. Barbara's a professional. She's a pro
for sure. I would love to.
Yeah,
in fact, that's like, we can do a whole other episode. I'm already thinking of a whole other episode on manifestation. Because that is like so powerful and something I know I've used, in the competitive world. And that's huge.
Yeah,
I see a whole other episode to do.
Yeah, we're going to have Niki back on and do another hour of
I would love it. I know.
Talking about that.
For sure.
Sorry.
No, this is because you had so much information to share. And I knew it was going to go this way because I love talking to you even then when we just talk offline. All the chats that the three of us have are so powerful. And with all the things that we shared, is there anything that you feel like you want to share that we haven't asked you yet? Is there something that sticks out to you that you're like, I really need to put this out there?
I mean, I think, sorry, I'm getting a call right now. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, because we're doing this.
You're a lady in demand.
Okay,
you are a woman in demand.
Yes. Okay. I think here, because your audience is going to be a lot of women, I think. I think for women, mindset is probably harder for us. And I say that not knowing what a man thinks because I'm not one, but women are freaking powerful. So anybody who's listening to this, you ladies, like women, we have the ability to create life, sustain life, create all kinds of things in this world. And I think we're very much shaped to think less of ourselves. And so I think when we think in the world of like mindset or the idea of mindset, like you have to shift your focus and realize you are freaking powerful. We like everything in this world that is there comes from a woman because nobody comes onto this earth without a woman. So any powerful person, any civilization, any government, any building, anything, if you think about where does it come from, it comes from freaking women. So when you really think of your mindset of like be empowering yourself, like women are amazing. We're amazing people. Like we are amazing creations. And if we really like act and think with that perspective, like you can do anything. So I mean, that was on a whim, but still,
powerful.
Honestly, I wish I could share like how much I love women. Women are like so specifically powerful and amazing. And like just the fact I've given birth 5 times and just that in itself, not saying that is for everybody, but that in itself makes you realize like women are the shit. I'm sorry for my
We are.
Women are the shit. Like, honestly, women are the shit. Women can do anything. So, accept that, receive it, go with it.
I think that's an amazing, That's definitely an amazing thing to kind of leave off on this podcast.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, Nikki, so that if people want to reach out and follow you, do you want to go ahead and share your information where they can find you on Instagram or?
Oh, sure. So
Yeah.
on Instagram, it's at Namaste Skincare and Wellness, all spelled out. Facebook also Namaste Skincare Wellness. And then my website is namasteskinspa.com.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, I would want to thank all of our listeners.
Yeah.
Listening in on this podcast. You guys could be doing anything else today, but you chose to stay here and listen. And I hope you guys got a lot of amazing information. Make sure to click the subscribe button. Follow us on Instagram. Here's to Dope Women. And thanks, guys, for being on here. This was so great.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah,
of course.
My fellow
Till next
dope
time.
women. Yes.
Till next time.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.